Welcome back. Right now we have Justin Michael here with us today. He's an author and CEO. He has a proven expert track record in sales and development. Thank you so much, Justin, for being here with us today.
It's awesome to be here, Christine. Thank you so much. And I'm missing Park City, and I was just up there skiing last year. I was at the Zant Next conference for all you local tech folks.
Yes, we miss having you in studio. We miss seeing people as well, but we're so grateful that this can work, that we can connect virtually with you, and I'm looking forward to learning more about you. You have a book coming out, in fact. Maybe we should start there.
Yes, so I'm releasing a book called Tech Powered Sales, and the original title was TQ, which stands for Technology Quotient, which is distinct from IQ and EQ. And don't worry, this isn't some highfalutin thing. We can all improve all of those things, actually. It's about how salespeople can leverage technology to sell more effectively. I basically make the thesis that there's no reason you should be, dialing phones one at a time or sending emails one at a time. There's so much automation, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Sounds like, the robots running wild, but it's actually quite practical. There's a lot of ways to, scale your business to superhuman levels by leveraging some tech that's, pretty affordable and within reach for entrepreneurs, small business owners, and tech companies.
Everything that we think about now, everything we do, seems to be framed by the pandemic. So I'm curious, this book will be released soon. When was it written, and how did COVID-19 and the events affect the book as it has affected business greatly?
Yeah, so I think prior to the pandemic, there was a wide variety of sellers who were field sellers, dashboard time, planes, trains, automobiles. I used to live in New York and go up and down the eastern seaboard and the Acela Amtrak train and jump over to Canada, sometimes over to Europe. It was pretty crazy. It was always on the road. Now everyone is in effect an inside seller. So a lot of the mechanisms for demand generation and marketing that were very much the world of the very top of the funnel are being embraced by sellers. So, there's really only an inside seller who's using Zoom and Gmail and distributed digital platforms to do what they're doing. And so it's a set of skills they're familiar with, but it's kind of like you're cross-training different muscles. I just came from the gym, so I'm just thinking in these analogies. But the field has gone away. So how do you build trust? I can see you 2D over Zoom, but I can't shake your hand. Like, I can't take my clients to dinner. I can't meet at a conference. So it is more challenging now than ever. And then everyone's using email, some calling, and it's very noisy out there. So how do you break through?
So how do you break through? I know that's what you answer within your book, but I'm curious, what are some of your tips, just to put it very simply, to help people who are in a tough spot right now with sales, with marketing, with business?
Yeah, so I focused a lot on email techniques and phone techniques because those are really the primary channels. Along with social media and LinkedIn. And one of the big things I realized from a neuroscience perspective is everything we do as humans looks like a text message, whether it's, Instagram or Facebook Messenger or text. Pretty much all our communication channels look like that. But when we go to write business emails, they're 3 paragraphs long. It takes 13 seconds to read them. So hyper short emails that look like text messages are super effective, gets the open rates over 80%. And then visuals in emails is really powerful because the brain can process visuals 60,000 times faster, visual information. And then I have all these techniques on the phone where I kind of use question frameworks to get prospects to talk, because what they're really craving to build trust is to be listened to. And most of the phone programs in the world in the last 20 years, you interrupt and then you pitch or you persuade or you hook. And it causes a lot of recoil effect. And so I would call my stuff, counterintuitive, radically different. But when you think about it, it just kind of makes sense. Kind of like if Yogi Berra came up with a way to get business, like, oh, that totally makes sense, but just no one's thought of it. And a lot of times marketing departments won't let salespeople do anything that radical, like, send a single sentence email. It seems heretical.
And who did you write this book for? What's your ideal audience, the perfect reader? Who exactly do you think absolutely needs this book right now?
Yeah, I think anyone who is trying to become less technology avoidant. So I think there's a big push from like Gartner and Forrester, like AI is going to take our jobs. We all know we're doing these little manual tasks. They're all automatable. So you have a tech stack, whether you believe it or not. You're using Gmail, Slack, LinkedIn, Zoom, websites, you're actually using a lot more technology than you would think. Even if you have a yellow pad and a phone. So anyone who's trying to develop business, B2B, and build a funnel, build a pipeline, find new clients, and is using digital to do it. So it's pretty much 50 million people. Think about it, 7 million in tech and 30 to 50 million, small business owners, entrepreneurs, the engine of the economy. They're trying to get their message heard. They're trying to break through. They're trying to open an opportunity, pique interest, and make these channels more effective. So that's sort of who I wrote it for, and that's why we changed the name. Because ultimately, if you use Excel, you probably use 5%, but if you take a course, you learn how to do pivot tables and macros, there's quite a bit like the average user could do in Excel if they just became a little bit better. What's really fascinating is even with G Suite or LinkedIn or some basic free tooling, if you learn about this stuff, you can become extremely effective with just a few little changes. So in the workforce, trying to get hired, if you have some more sales ops skills or tech skills, if you're in a company already and everybody's kind of their hands up and they're like, just doing it one way, you can be innovative and more valuable to your employer. So it's kind of a job security and an innovation manual.
You've been in business sales development for many, many years. You're the CEO of your own company. Tell me more about your background and where you are today.
Yes, so I just turned 41 recently, and 40s are the new 30s. I was in sales for 20 years, and I was always carrying a bag and working for other people. I sold software as a service. I worked for Salesforce, LinkedIn, Sean Parker, who's famous for Napster, the social network, Social Dilemma. He was early. I think he introduced Mark Zuckerberg to Peter Thiel, his claim to fame. I worked for some high-profile companies and people, and then consulted with like hundreds of small startups. And I've just finally got to a place where in the pandemic, I decided to start my own business, to become a consultant, and then to build like my own S-Corp, which feels pretty awesome. So yeah, I fell into it, and it was so effective. People were getting so many results. I wrote the book as a vehicle because other consultants told me you have to have a book. And I road tested a lot of ideas and was pretty shocked to get picked up by HarperCollins in the pandemic. It's all been a humbling experience. I would just say never write a book and never work for yourself. Just kidding. It's a lot of work, but it's actually really rewarding and fun. I always joke. I think it was Elon Musk. He was being interviewed recently on Clubhouse, and his advice was, you don't build a startup company. So, yeah.
So while you're recommending tongue-in-cheek not to do this, at the same time you've done it and you've been very successful at it. So what would you tell someone who is maybe thinking about starting a business or thinking about taking that next step as an entrepreneur and is feeling a little bit scared? What's your advice to them?
Yeah, so here's the great thing. When you work for another person, it's another product or service that you have to believe in. But when it's you, there's nowhere to hide, right? It's like burn the ships. Basically, at the end of the day, if someone's not happy, I'm guaranteeing myself, I'm my own product. My ability to train your team, make you successful at selling. There's nowhere to hide, there's nowhere to go. That's why I love the analogy of burn the ships. It's like if you have a skill, whether it's cooking or writing or entrepreneurship, it's like if you really know you can deliver that value, you have a lot of ground to stand on. You're never pushing on a rope. At the end of the day, you can roll up your sleeves and develop that outcome. And I ran a bunch of sales teams and sales processes in different ways. And so I've been customizing methodologies, and I've been going in with a great degree of confidence because I know how to do the work. So if you have reached a level of confidence, maybe you've put 10,000 hours, you maybe just have a gift or a craft or something really genius that you feel you do, or everybody around you saying, hey, you're really a genius at this, you might be able to just monetize that and turn that into a business. The other beauty of it is if it comes naturally, or if it's natural now that you've done it 10,000 times. Think Bruce Lee, right? It's not 10,000 kicks. He's afraid of the fighter who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. So yeah, that's a big deal. You want to monetize something that you can do at like a level of unconscious competence, right? Where, you fly a 767, but you don't think about all the controls. You just can kind of autopilot and do it right. I had run so many sales processes and done this for so many different startups in a function of like almost an agency model with other companies I was part of, that it just is kind of second nature and breathing to me. So the confidence comes from the repetition and from you acquiring a special skill. Other than that, monetizing your own brand, right? You have to convince someone that there's something that you do that maybe they can't do, so that you can exchange funds for it. That's the big thing. People go into business and they can't get clients. And so there's this transference of that belief and transference of energy, which is the monetization. So they're coming to you for your expertise and your unique experience. Most people just limit themselves. They don't believe that they're unique enough, or they really do have specialized expertise. But as Aaron Ross, who wrote the forward to my book, said, everyone actually does have a unique genius. That's the beauty of the human condition.
And Justin, what's the best way to connect with you, and how can we get your book?
Yeah, the best thing you could do is look for tech-powered sales on Amazon. I have a landing page and things, or just find me on LinkedIn, Justin Michael. And I also have a website called salesborgs.ai. I know it sounds hilarious, but seller and cyborg, human and machine, salesborgs.ai. The AI part just sounds cool. I mean, maybe we'll do some AI, but that's where you can find me.
Well, thank you so much, Justin Michael, for joining us here on Park City Television. Author, CEO, inspirational individual. We appreciate your advice today and appreciate you taking time to be here on Mountain Connections. We'll be back right after this.